Hello there everybody, welcome. This video is about Hades 2. I'll give you a complete review with my personal verdict, and I'm gonna try to answer the question whether the game's really that good or not, as good as I can. So, first off, I want to introduce you to Hades in general, if you are not aware of the whole franchise. It is an isometric roguelite action game, so you get to dash around, kill stuff, you conquer the world, and if you die, you get to keep some permanent resources, and you get to retry again. You will also meet some people whose story will guide you through the game, because I really want to keep it a little bit on the down low spoiler-wise, and all in all, well, the progression goes like that. You will unlock more power-ups, and progressively every run will grow easier. You go onto this adventure in the role of Melinoe, the young daughter of Hades and a couple of other Greek gods that is going for revenge and trying to reconquer the underworld from the evil Kronos. So far, so good. So where does it differ from part 1 is another thing that I want to point out. So first off, we have ranged attacks, always. Pretty much every weapon has a ranged option. We have a spell that draws out a crowd control zone that doesn't cost us anything. And when we hold down any of these buttons, we get to cast spells. We have mana now, so we don't get to collect the crystals out of the enemies that we've hit with spells, but instead we can supercharge every one of these 3 attacks, and 2 of these attacks will be different depending on the weapon you got. The rest of the game is pretty much very close to the original, so it's a lot of storytelling, there's a lot of node-based exploration. You always get to select which path you take next, which reward you want to pick up, and yeah, you modify yourself with skills that you gather along the way, and there's a couple of adventures that you will go through. Resource collection is a new thing that is nowadays a new feature of Hades 2. Resource collection was before that only more or less a dungeon reward thing. Okay, so that's the basics. I just want to make sure that we all know what we're talking about. So, first up, I want to talk about the good things, and if you know my reviews, you already know that that's not the way I usually work. So, what's good about Hades 2? Well, it has really a lot to discover. For an early access version, it is massive. Seriously, there's a lot of character dialogue, there's a lot of things to unlock, there's a lot of world to explore, more than ever, by the way, without wanting to drop out any spoilers. And yeah, the combat is snappy, still a lot of fun, the new skills, I really enjoy them a lot. And, well, what can I say? I really think the game's more easy than before, but I think also that the game was a little bit too hard for casual players before. Well, depends on who you ask, though. But all in all, I really enjoy it gameplay-wise. The only thing, well, that you already might have noticed, whenever a spell charges up, you have a bit of a time dilution effect. So you have a pause button that you can trigger, which, well, genuinely just makes the game easier. I can't really put it into different words. So, apart from that, the art style of this part is amazing. Seriously, Hades 1 already looked pretty fancy. This one takes it up a notch again. So that is really, really cool. Also, the game is very easy to pick up when you are familiar with it, and very easy to pick up if you're not. So it's really nothing that you need an extra training for, or which is featuring too esoteric combat styles or anything like that. It's all accessible, fun, it's snappy, it's quick, and there's a lot to discover, and I think that is pretty cool. Especially the fact how many features the game unlocks in a very surprising way. I like that. We are playing as witches, and you really notice that everything is based around witchy things. You harvest crops on the fields out there, you have a big fat cauldron where you do your unlocks at, and so on and so forth. It is all very atmospheric and well done, and all in all, I can only say the game itself, it is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. But we're going over now to the bad things, because I have exhausted my list of good things already. So all in all, I want to take away that I didn't like, I don't like Hades 2 as much as I like Hades 1. Even though I fundamentally think it ain't a bad game, it suffers from so many things. So first and foremostly, I want to say, Everybody hates the slight delay on the dash. There's a slight wind-up now, which makes the game feel a lot less snappy than ever before, and pretty much everybody who I read hates it. But this is currently just a fluke. I think this is something that can be removed out of the game, but all in all, well, it is something that's been bothering people, and me as well. Another thing is, well, currently the enemies just feel too bullet spongy. As you see here, this enemy is really not much more than go into the shroud, hit him a couple of times, and dash out in time, which I don't do that good because I'm too busy talking. But either way, the total amount of HP on the enemies is outrageous. Here again, it's fixable, it is an early access thing, and I think it is absolutely resolvable. But I can't hold down mouse buttons anymore, because if I hold down a mouse button, this happens. So all my attack chains are now click, 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 click. You see, it is way more strenuous on my fingers than the old games were, because, you know, holding down a mouse button is way less of a problem for your fingers. I really don't like that. I mean, this might sound like a tiny thing, but if you play this game for several hours, this can be a real issue. But, well, that is a few things gameplay-wise that I really have to criticize, but I think it is resolvable. Even that clicky thing, I think I can even resolve that by just binding the special attacks somewhere else. Whatever. There are solutions to these problems. But Hades 2 has a couple of fundamental issues that I really need to cover now. First off, the whole node-based exploration theme here is done okay, but they didn't fix any of the old problems. We still have the problem that we get to select at the doors whether a short-term gain or a long-term gain. In other words, boost your current run and increase your chances of winning it, or grind some odd meta currency for your next run to unlock something for your next runs and make your next time easier, and I hated to have to decide between that. It really bothers me. I don't like to have to decide whether I go for upgrades or for success. I also don't like to have to decide whether I go for story or for upgrades. That's just bad. I don't like it. It's been around in Hades 1 and it hasn't been fixed. That's really bothersome, and I really don't like it. That's something which I personally don't think will change, and to add insult to injury here, the game has more resources than it. Like, to make matters worse, we now not only have these resources that we gain after the rooms, no, we also get to collect resources now, which wouldn't be that bad if all of the resources would work like these flowers, but they don't. We get to craft now tools. But that is not the problem. The problem is that we only get to carry one tool at a time. So you have to decide whether you go mining or fishing or whatever else. So that means if you want to unlock stuff, you can't unlock it all because you're not eligible to collect all the collectibles. Seriously, these games are already grindy. I don't want to be committed to a boring grind. I want fun grinds, and that is not the way how to commit me to a fun grind. Really, this whole topic of only one equipable tool really gets me up the edge, and, well, it is resolvable, though. It is not that much of a big deal, but it's surely adding up to the tedium. And the other thing that I really have a problem with is, currently at least, the whole add-ons and specials of the skills. Well, I haven't had one yet that changed my game style fundamentally. It's pretty neat and all, but, you know, it's very straightforward. Some of them add some burn, some of them add some time-dilated burst, some of them weaken the enemy, and it's all directly linked to one of your 3 attacks. There are a couple of things that are pretty unique. There's also a ultimate skill that we inherit from a god later, which we can also buff. Yeah, it ain't bad, but it is also nothing innovative. And that bothered me a lot, because that means builds and all become... They feel rather samey after a while, because, you know, it really depends on what kind of upgrade I get early on, and that defines so much of my future run. Well, I feel like Hades 1 did a better job at this build diversity thing. Really, seriously. That's... I can't put it into different words. So, that's, though, all things where I think Supergiant Games can absolutely fix it. You see, those are all redeemable problems. But there is one problem that I personally find irredeemable and will be the reason why I forever more basically will not be liking Hades 2. And that is the story and the character design. You see, I really don't mind a cast that's majority female dominated. I've played several games that had this. Among these, Labyrinth of Galeria, or several other games where it was all about women discovering their adventures and all. That's really not my gripe with it. My gripe is Milinue is a boring character. She's always brooding, she's always a bit of a pushover, and I don't really know her defining sides except for being a good girl. Then all the other NPCs. Hecate, your headmistress, she's just the basic witch character. She does not really have much to herself except for those killer abs. Seriously. But there is, again, not much of character behind her. She is just the caring person that took up Milinue and uses her to get revenge on and conquer back the place. But the dialogues between Milinue and Hecate were all dull. Not a single memorable moment so far, and all the other characters that I met, they are pretty similar. We have a little bit of a house ghost, which tries to cater the sympathy points that Dusa catered in the first place, but she's just not as funny as. We got Odysseus, who's just supposed to be a genius strategist, but as a matter of fact, whenever I talk to him, he's like, "Oh, you found this monster? I had no clue this monster down there exists. Good thing that you're telling me." So basically the character who's supposed to be the scout and the intel guy is always quite clueless, and of course it's all the girls who do all the heavy lifting, because most of the male cast are either idiots, villains, or both. I mean, I really don't want to put it down like that, but it really shows. I wouldn't talk about it if it wouldn't be so prevalent, you see? That's really not my usual criticism, but in this scenario, it just is. And to make matters worse, I really loved the story writing of Hades 1. That was, for me, one of the major takeaways and one of the things that I loved the most about Hades 1. I picked up the game and I had to laugh because Zagreus is such an idiot. Because he keeps talking where he should just keep his trap shut. And he keeps getting himself into trouble time and time again. And that is just, you know, that's fun to read. Milinue, on the other hand, she's all revenge. I hope my family is safe. Revenge. Okay, mistress. Revenge. I hope my family is safe. Revenge. You see, there is really not much substance to her. And while being addressed as a princess of the underworld, the most important character out there, that's okay, but she doesn't have the substance and the storytelling at all to convince me of that. Her artwork is nice, her fighting style is cool, it's all there, but apart from that, she's a really super dull and boring character. And that really, oh man, it makes me so sad because, you see, basically, I was so looking forward to another quippy and exciting adventure with the world of Hades, and what I got is, well, girlhood, which is the solution to it all, the best girl of it all. She's absolutely the secret weapon, and she's gonna overthrow it all alone, and that's it, basically. Everybody supports her. Everybody loves Milinue. Nobody argues with her. She's never been contested or... Oh, forgive me. There is one person contesting her permanently. That is Nemesis, which is basically a female Thanatos. She's basically just Thanatos. You even get basically the same mini-game where she invades a level and tries to get more kills than you. It's legit almost the same. And here's our big villain. Here's Kronos. You see, he's a dull, shady person, and, well, I knew who he was the moment I saw him, even before the story told me, because the storytelling was giving it up so flat away. All in all, you might have already noticed, I don't like the storytelling and the character design of Hades 2 at all. And while the gameplay here is magnificent, I despise basically all of the decisions. I really don't like most of the character design. Here in this stage, we fight Scylla and the Sirens as the enemy, and you hear that humming in the background. It intensifies, it even grows into a song, which basically personally pissed me off like nothing else, because I hate vocals in games during in terms of music, but that is a me problem, I know that. But at the end of the day, just to round it up, you face Scylla and the Sirens, and guess who's not having a singing role? The Sirens. It's only Scylla singing, seriously. They made Sirens as a boss, and they don't even sing. Okay, they play cool instruments and all, but you know, well, I don't like that interpretation. Maybe I'm taking things too serious here with the classic interpretations, but whatever. It is my gameplay experience, and I got quite disappointed because Hades 1 was a different experience. I wouldn't be pissed if Hades 1 wouldn't have been a completely different experience, and if Supergiant Games wouldn't have shown me that they can do better storytelling-wise. But, well, alright. So, to sum it up and put an end to it, I think Hades 2 is a genuinely good game, alright? Don't get me wrong, I just personally don't like the way that the character design went. It has a few bumps on the road, gameplay-wise. I explained those, you see these delays and all, and the sameness on the builds, but seriously, this is fixable. It's an early access version, and all they need to do is put a little bit more zazz on the dash and put a couple of extra things. But I think the really irredeemable thing there is that I didn't like a single character in the game so far. They even managed to bore me out of several things. I mean, here Aphrodite all of a sudden has to wield weaponry, you know. The goddess of love surely needs now weapons. I don't get it. But yeah, all those design decisions, they won't disappear. It is something that I don't like, and it'll stay like that. I'm very afraid that this is something that I just have to accept. So all in all, if you liked Hades 1, this might be really a good game for you if you can look past the much weaker storytelling. Because even if you are not so personally inclined against the characters like I am, they are much more dull written. There is much less quippy dialogue, there are much less fun situations, and that is just an objective thing. The rest of the whole girl boss scheme here I'm muttering about, well, that's up to your own personal taste, and I don't want to say that this is objectively a bad thing. I just don't like the trend at all. So, where does that leave us? Yeah, Hades 2 is a great game if you can look past its shortcomings. It is basically, as many people have said, feeling a lot like a DLC to Hades 2, because most of the fundamental issues of the game are still around and haven't changed at all. The material grinding part has grown even worse, much worse, and yeah, the rest is just more of the same. The actual inclusion of ranged attacks on pretty much every weapon feels weird and makes the game a lot easier, but well, I don't want to complain about that because I'm personally not that super good at these games. So my friends, I leave the rest to you. I personally really am a little bit sad that I can't refund it anymore, because if I could, I would. I was just playing it for 5 hours, hoping that the fun would at some point come in, that some character would pop up that I could fall in love with. Never happened. I hated pretty much everything about the character design here, and I don't expect anything to change about that. The gameplay, it's fun, it's snappy, it's cool, needs some improvements, but heck, that's what early access versions are good for. So, that's all I have to say. I really hope you find that helpful. Let me know in the comment section what you think. I did my best to stay objective, even though I gotta say as a last word, I hate this game, okay? I really hate that my expectations got so disappointed. I hoped for something fun, storytelling-wise, and what I got is a bland girl boss scheme. If that doesn't bother you, if you're all about the roguelite experience, Hades 2 is a great game. Objectively, absolutely good. So, I'm looking forward to your opinions. Leave a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and check out the description box. Support Icon Gaming via the links down there if you want to be a friendly fella. I'd be really, really happy, and see you all next time. Bye-bye.